Jamil Jivani, Conservative MP for, is it Bowmanville is your riding, Jamil?
Bowmanville, Oshawa North.
Okay, Bowmanville, Oshawa North. So you were down there talking about the GM plant. You were down there talking about auto workers. Let's talk about the other people that you met with. President Trump, that was kind of like a walkthrough. Hi, how you doing, sir? Describe it to me.
Yeah, so JD kind of gave me a tour of the White House, and the president kindly let us interrupt one of his meetings to chat with him for a bit and introduce myself. We had good conversation, and hopefully it's not the last time that we'll have a chance to speak. But I appreciated him making time to talk to me. Obviously, he's an incredibly busy person, so.
He loves the Canadians.
Yes, he did ask me to share that message with my fellow countrymen, and I kind of took that as him, making the point that however he might feel about our government, it does not reflect on his view of the people of this country, and thought if the president asked you to share something, it's probably worth sharing, so I passed it on to everybody on Twitter.
You met with Marco Rubio, Secretary of State. That's just one of his jobs, and if you're online at all, you've seen all the memes of him taking on every other job on the planet. Those are great fun, but Secretary Rubio is one of the most, as an outsider, I would say, appears to be one of the most influential cabinet ministers there. Um, what can you tell us about that chat?
Yeah, we just talked a bit about, I shared my views on Kuzma and the urgency. He had just hosted a critical minerals conference at the State Department right before he and I met. So we talked a bit about critical minerals, what they were, hoping to accomplish at that conference. I learned a bit about the critical minerals agreement that they have done with Mexico, which unfortunately Canada is not part of, and Canada does not have an action plan on that issue with the United States right now. So yeah, just kind of just catching up on what he's working on, and yeah, he's as you said, has a lot of responsibilities there. So
In terms of discussions with Rubio and Jamison Greer, who is really, in terms of getting Kuzma settled, one of the key people. Jamison Greer, for those that don't know the name, United States Trade Representative, he's the lead negotiator. You heard from both of them about Mexico being ahead of Canada. There's been a lot of commentators who are not just reacting to every Truth Social post Trump makes, pointing out that Mexico is ahead of us. You appear to have really gotten that sense when you were in Washington. Are they further ahead than most of us realize in terms of a trade deal compared to Canada?
well, I think certainly and so the critical minerals issue would be one example, but another one would be both countries have, formally announced Kuzma reform talks, which, as I said about, July 1st being a deadline for the review, it's a bit alarming that two of the three countries in the trade agreement have started, that dialogue, and we have not. That really stands out to me as something that is a red flag for us. And one of the reasons why it stands out is we've been down this road before. In 2017, when Justin Trudeau was prime minister, Mexico and the United States progressed quite far along without Canada involved in talks, to the point where a bilateral agreement between those two countries was a real possibility. And Canada, sort of at the last minute, had to step in and sort of advocate to be included. Now, I probably don't need to sort of say this, but because it should be obvious, but I'll just, clarify, like, it is not the best situation for your country to be included in an agreement at the last minute. Obviously, the best case scenario is to be part of the dialogue the entire step of the way. And I do worry that we are potentially repeating the mistakes of 2017, where we're being left out, the relationship breakdown has occurred, and then we're going to wind up being shoehorned into an agreement closer to the end of, completion, where, like, at that point, how much of our priorities are going to be in there, and who knows, right? So I'm trying to avoid that, and that's one of the reasons why I bring up the Mexico example, is just to show to Canadians this is, again, not about taking sides on whether you like the US government or you don't. This is not about elbows up or elbows down. This is about real things happening that are going to affect our economy, and wanting us to be part of those conversations as much as possible.